Fight fans are back to Carl present MMA. Today I got a fighter getting ready, making a return to the UFC February 21st. She's taking on Juliana Miller. She is Miss Crispy. She is Carli Judice. Carli, what's going on? How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Sorry for my hair. I just got done with training, so I'm a little frizzy, but I'm doing good.
Absolutely. Last time we saw you, last year, July, the big card in Louisiana, Poirier, Holloway, big finish victory over Carli. What was it like going out there, getting a huge finish, performance of the night bonus in your home state?
Dude, I can't describe the feeling, So like everybody asks me that, and I have a different answer every time because there's so many feelings and so many emotions when it happened. But it was definitely a dream come true. People ask me, "Where's your dream place to fight?" And I'm like, I already did. I already fought in New Orleans, home state. It's probably the closest I'll get to Lafayette, Louisiana, where I'm from, about 2 hours. So it was a dream, and I can't think of anything that can top it.
What was it like getting into the sport in Louisiana? Obviously, you have some guys who've been there, done that. Cormier comes from there, Dustin Poirier, Kurt Hollabaugh, and some others. What's it like? What was it like starting off in that state?
It was awesome. There's so much support. Obviously, every hometown supports fighters, but Lafayette, Louisiana, there's not many fighters that come from Lafayette, Louisiana that make it to the top and go all the way. So they definitely back them up all the way through. That's why you see with Dustin Poirier, he had the whole state behind him, and even the whole world behind him, but Lafayette, Louisiana really, pushed him. So it was cool to have, and hopefully I can be, I'm never going to be Dustin Poirier, but I hope that I can be an inspiration to people of Lafayette, Louisiana, and just Louisiana in general.
Absolutely. So many people are watching this sport in this day and age, and it's awesome. Very few people understand what it's like to be a fighter. Before you make it to the UFC, you're not making Conor McGregor money on the regional scene, right? You wake up early, you stay up late, you do all these things. It's hard to date anyone. It's hard to be married. It's hard to have kids. Your whole life is fighting. Well, you're fortunate enough to be fighting in the biggest platform in the world, but the sacrifices still don't stop. You got to do this day in and day out. What's made you want to stick with this journey?
Man, really is like the person it's made me, the person that it continues to shape me in every single day. I'm so different than I was when I was 18 years old, even 20 when I first started this. And, it's the hard work, dedication, the blood, sweat, and tears, everything that I learn about myself, who I am at the deepest core. Like this sport will bring it out of you, and you really find out who you are. You can't hide from it. You can't run from it. And that's what I love the most about this sport. And that's what keeps me pushing forward and to grow, to learn about myself, to be the best athlete I can be, because I've always been an athlete. So competing and learning about myself and getting better has always been the center of my life and what really drives me. So this is the ultimate test. I feel like MMA is one of the most, sports that does that the most, is really teaches you about yourself. And I love it. And it drives me every day to want to learn more about myself and what kind of athlete I can be.
One thing that really sticks out from your record is you fought some really tough competition. I mean, it's really stemmed all the way from even your amateur days. Your last amateur contest on record here, Anna Milesano, obviously she's killing it right now in Fury, 6-1 as a pro. How important for your growth and development was that bout?
It was huge, like she was the first girl that I fought that had a bunch of experience, a bunch of wins. So going out there and being able to get a win over her, for me as an amateur, that was huge. And that was a fight before I turned pro. So it showed me what I needed to know about if I was going to be able to compete, at a little bit higher of a level. So then I went and had 3 pro fights after that. But that fight, I'm always going to remember that fight being the moment where I realized I can try to make a run. Once I was able to, get a win against Anna, it switched in my head. Like, I can do this. I can make a run for this. And I do have what it takes.
Before you got that call for Contender Series, your last one as a pro on the regional scene was Monica Medina, someone who's done bare knuckle, different MMA organizations. For you, how big was that win, and what was going on during that time of your career?
Man, that fight was awesome because fighting Monica Medina, I fought in Youngsville, Louisiana, which is, 10 minutes from Lafayette, Louisiana. So I fought at home. That was my last fight before Contender Series. I had people chanting my name in that crowd. So that fight was just so awesome for me. And to get a finish in the first round for that, it was huge in front of my home state. And then my next fight is Contender Series. So just the excitement around that, it was awesome. I don't know the timeline in between that happened. I think that was May, and then I fought in September on Contender Series. So it was a quick turnaround. So I'm sure everybody, and they have short notice Contender Series. So came out of nowhere. The whole state was just freaked out, and it was it's a cool time to look back on because it was awesome and it happened quick.
Do you remember where you were and who called you and told you that you were going to be signed on the Contender?
Absolutely, I'll never forget that. I was at work at Great Harvest Bread. I was making sandwiches, wrapping them up, giving them to customers. My manager called. I said, I gotta take this. Someone make this sandwich for me. I went outside. He told me, I couldn't believe it. I was 17 pounds away, also 10 days out, and they were like, well, you obviously want to fight, but can you make weight? And I was like, I don't know. I can't tell you, but I'm going to do everything I can to make weight because I'm not going to say no. I called my coach and they were like, we'd be dumb to say no to this fight, this opportunity. So as long as you think that you could make weight even a little bit, like a little bit of chance you're going to make weight, we're going to do it and we're going to go all the way. So that was a wild ride. I remember crying that whole day, just being, overwhelmed with so much emotions, nerve. I was scared. I was happy. I felt blessed for this opportunity. There was just so many things that there was a lot of weight on my shoulders that day, but I'll never forget it. I remember every feeling of that day.
Obviously the Contender Series didn't go out the way you wanted, but what were some of the takeaways? What were some of the things that you've taken away to get stronger since that bout?
That fight showed me that I can compete, right? Because I didn't totally, get destroyed in that fight. I did lose. A lot of people say it's close. They think I won. I know that I lost. I know where I went wrong. I know so many things that I wish I could have did better. But I definitely learned that I can compete at that level. I definitely learned what I needed to get better at to be able to continue to compete at a high level. It showed me a lot. It also showed me that that big stage can be nerve-wracking, but also it's bearable. It's like we're all human. All the fighters, like we all come from where everybody else is starting from, so it's like being at the big stage, it seems awesome. We're on TV and it sounds like this thing that's so far away, but it's not that far away. Like we could all be calm in that situation and figure out how to handle the nerves because it's just another moment. Me and my coaches say it all the time. When we're about to fight, it's just another day. We do this every day. We know what we're doing. Just because the lights and cameras are on, it doesn't change what we do every single day. So that's one thing that fight started to show me is that it's not that far. Dreams aren't crazy. It's hard to get there, and you got to put a lot of work, but it's not impossible to be in an awesome, crazy experience like that.
You've only had 3 fights in the UFC so far, but you've really become one of the most exciting fighters in that division. 3 UFC fights, 3 bonuses, 1 fight of the night, 2 performance bonuses. There's never a boring Carli Judice fight. You're always going out there. You're always trying to finish your opponent. For you, has that style just always come? It's just always been the way you are?
Yeah, dude, that it is. Ever since I started fighting, even all my amateur careers, when I got like fight of the night, I got a little $100 extra and stuff like that. That's what I say. Whenever I start to get nervous about a fight, I tell myself, I'm like, Carli, you've never had a boring fight. So even if you go out there and get destroyed, you're going to put on a show either way. So it's like, that gives me confidence going into my fight because I know that on my worst day, I'm going to show up for myself, and I'm going to trust my preparation and my skill, and I'm at least going to show up in a very interesting fashion, even if I lose. So that gives me confidence going into fights, especially in my last 2. I just let loose. I just know that if I go in there and have fun and just like compete because I love to compete, not compete because I'm trying to win and get money, it's just like, just go out there and have fun. And that's when I do the best. I just let loose,
Absolutely. I think really your coming out part in the UFC so far has been that head kick victory over Yanesi Dubin, Kurt Holobaugh on that card as well. What was it like after that fight? Did your phone, did it stop blowing up?
No, it did not stop. And I also didn't sleep for like 48 hours after that fight because I just kept watching it over and over again. Because obviously your first win in the UFC, my first win in the UFC, it felt great. I know how much work we put into it. I know how many times I landed that head kick in camp. So just like to think like I executed it as well as I did. I was proud of myself for that. But yeah, it was just a crazy night. I couldn't sleep. I ended up getting sick when I got home because I hadn't slept for like 48 hours and just so much was going on. But that I'll never forget that day. There's so many things about the UFC in my life that has happened since I've started MMA that I'll never forget. And it's just a huge stamp of my life. And, it's just everything leads to the next thing. snowball bad or good. It all adds together to make something great. So, I'm feeling super blessed and grateful for my life and my opportunities.
2026 definitely a huge year for mixed martial arts, and I think one of the main reasons why Paramount. A lot of people watching this. No more pay-per-views. No more having to go to the B-dubs. You watch it all on Paramount. You like to get your bonuses. You have 3 so far. Bonuses are now $100,000. You pretty excited about that?
Yeah, that's pretty awesome because, like you said, I do have a fighting style where I'm trying to bring all I got every time, and I'm trying to, I'm an interesting fighter because boring fights are boring, so I try to make it, I try to scrap. So yeah, it's cool for fighters like me that, want to go out there and find finishes every time, or at least, definitely, I don't know. I'm hype about it. I don't want it to be my driving factor. Like I said, I still want to go out there and have fun, be loose. But bonuses bumping up. Obviously I'm not going to complain about. It sounds awesome. So we're going to see how that goes.
So you're getting ready. You're taking on Juliana Miller, obviously someone who's a big name in the martial arts community, someone who won the Ultimate Fighter. Overall, what do you think of her as an opponent?
I think we're all in the UFC. We're in the UFC, so I tell everybody there's not going to be any more easy fights. Like, I'm in the UFC, best of the best in the world. I definitely respect her on the ground. You got to respect her striking because she's in the UFC for a reason. So I'm not going in there, thinking I'm going to dog walk or whatever the comments and everything on Facebook is or Instagram. I'm just going in there trying to be me, trying to be crispy, and whatever happens is going to happen. I definitely have a lot of respect for her on the ground because she's one of the best grapplers in the world. She's earned that. So yeah, but I also trust in my ability fully, trust in my preparation. So I'm excited for it, and wherever it goes, I'm gonna be ready. It sounds cliche like everybody says, but we're making sure day in and day out that we're covering all the holes and all the gaps that we have, so we put us in the best position to win.
Do you like that you get to return to an arena and get to fight in front of a crowd again for this one?
Yes, of course, and that's why Houston to me is like fighting at home. It's only 3 hours away. Like, New Orleans was 2.5 hours, so I got a lot of people coming out to support. I know a bunch of people in Houston, so it's like fighting at home to me. It's close to equivalent to fighting in New Orleans, not quite because it's not Louisiana, but it's just as big as an opportunity being able to fight again. Because my first three fights. Contender series and my first 2 in the UFC were in the Apex with no crowd. So to fight 2 with a crowd back to back, the crowd really drives me. Like, it's a different feeling. Having the roar of the crowd every time you land a punch, a kick. It's better than the Apex is quiet and weird. But wherever they want me to fight, I'll fight. But the more in front of a crowd, the better for me. I love it.
The big win over Juliana. Do you think you're really close, fighting maybe a top 15 opponent?
Yes, my guess is that that's next. I'm not rushing it, but if that's what the UFC has planned next for me, then I'm down with that too. And hopefully I'm ready for that type of competition. And even if I'm not quite, I'm gonna make sure by the time it happens, I will be. Because after this fight, I don't want to look too much ahead, but I'm gonna get back in the gym ASAP. It's like I'm not fighting fight to fight anymore. It's not fight camp. It's like every day is a fight camp. I might take a week off after to let stuff heal, but like, I'm back in the gym as soon as I can because I know that I started late in my life. I know I have so much to learn, and yeah, my goal is just to be the best fighter, not win the next fight in front of me. So, and if I'm the best fighter and I'm having fun and being crispy, then wins are gonna come. So that's kind of my goal.
For you, what's the ultimate goal? What do you want to accomplish in all this?
Man, obviously winning a belt is everybody's, one of everybody's goals, and it's awesome. But I want to, hopefully one day be in the Hall of Fame because I want to be legendary in a way that I'm one of the cleanest, crispiest female strikers around. And I know that if I can do that, then a belt, is likely in the future. So I'm not chasing a belt. I'm chasing to be the crispiest female fighter that ever stepped in the UFC octagon. Even if that takes years and years, that's fine. But as long as I'm striving for that, then, I'm happy. Because if I'm chasing wins and losses and belts, and if I never get there, it's, to me, as long as I get in that cage and people are like, yo, Carli's fighting this weekend. Like, let's watch that masterpiece. Like, that's what I want to build. So, that's what I strive for. I want to be people, sometimes people don't want to watch female fighters because they're boring or not technical. So I want to change that whole stereotype.
Do you think that fighting is more mental than it is physical?
Yes, absolutely. It's all sports are, but especially fighting, man. You got to so many people, over the years fizzle out in training. Like you'll see somebody training for 2 years, and then next thing you know, you don't see them, and it's because of how mental the sport actually is. Like, you'll get your butt kicked, especially when you first start like jujitsu. You'll get your butt kicked for like 2 years, like every day for 2 years, and then all of a sudden you start getting better. It's just such a getting better creeps up on you slowly sometimes in this sport, and people want results fast, but you just got to stay consistent. Keep your eyes on the prize, keep your eyes forward, and keep moving. So that's I definitely think it's mental, and it pushes a lot of people out. But the tougher ones and the people that can handle it stay in it for the long run.
You mentioned at the beginning of the interview, one of the reasons you keep doing this is just the growth. So the growth aspect of this. I've had so many fighters come on and tell me when they first started getting into this, they were lost. They didn't have guidance. They were not the person they are today. Martial arts provided structure, turned them to the husband, the wife, the father they are in this day and age. For you, how have you grown and evolved from the sport?
I'm mentally, when I was growing up playing softball, I was a basket case. If I'd strike out, I would be in a slump for the rest of my season. Like everybody knew if I struck out, I was probably crying, and so for me, knowing how I came up as an athlete, the transformation as an athlete I am now is crazy. It's like if I have a bad practice, sometimes I'll cry. Don't get me wrong. This sport's rough, but overall, I know that bad practices every day compounds into making me a better fighter and a better person. So as opposed to back when I was younger, I would take bad days and I was like, yep, I suck. Now when I have a bad day, I just kind of try to take it into, okay, that bad day, I got through that bad day, add that into my bucket of every other day that I've been training, and it's going to make something great. So yeah, definitely my mindset has changed, and the person I am too, it's like, I know that I have to work hard in fighting, but I also know that I have to be a good sister, a good friend, a good honest partner. Like everything that I want to be good at in fighting, it's like I want to take that and spread it out throughout my whole life. So it's definitely changed my life. As like you said, a lot of fighters, almost every fighter would say that it has. And yeah, I mean, they're not wrong, and they're not making it up, because it does change you.
So many fans are watching this in this day and age. I think for the most part, they understand that fighters are trying to get into the UFC. They're trying to get belts, trying to win money, all this stuff. Very few understand the fight outside of the fight. To me, that's that fight to secure financial freedom. That's that fight not to have to clock in at 9 o'clock, clock out at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That's that fight to live life on your terms, not follow societal norms, create a platform, build a message, make your impact on the world. For you, has this been a big part of the journey?
Yes, it definitely has. I say it all the time, and I still have friends that were in the position that I was in 2-3 years ago. I worked at a bakery. I worked a full-time job, trained in the morning, went to work all day, trained at night. I didn't have time for friends, family, anything, because I got home at 8, went to sleep, started all over again. So I know what it's like, and now I don't, now I don't have a 9 to 5. All I do is train. I can focus on it, and I feel like you said, every fighter's striving for that and just trying to get to that. And as far as like advice for that, it's hard. It's the hardest thing you're gonna do, because it's like, dang, I've been doing this for 2 years and it's hard and I'm not getting anywhere. But if you just keep showing up and preparation, like keep preparing for something that you don't even know is gonna happen. Like I didn't know I was gonna get the call for Contender Series, but I was, I didn't win, but I was ready for the call, and now I'm in the UFC, and I'll never regret all the work and the tired nights and early mornings, late nights that I went through for that. So anytime I see somebody in the position that I was in, I definitely encourage them to keep going, because even when it looks rocky and it looks like that no breakthrough is going to happen anytime soon, you really never know when you're going to get a call for anything, so it's just keep pushing and keep your eyes on the goal, and it'll pay off.
You're in a situation now where you have fighters looking up to you, younger fighters, female fighters. They look at you, they want to get in your position. What's it like when you go on your Facebook, Instagram, and you have messages, I inspire you, I want advice from you, you push me to do what you're doing? What's it like to see those things now?
Man, that really means a lot to me, especially the younger generation, because like I said a little bit earlier, was I had my struggles as an athlete when I was young, and I just want younger females to know that they can do things that seem so far out of reach. Just people in general, things that, people on TV, it seems so hard to get there. Like you see someone famous and it's like, wow, it's like they got lucky, or that, they're there for a reason. It's like I could never do that, but we can do that. Like I said earlier, we're all people. You just have to know what it takes to get to certain places and be willing to put in the work, even when stuff is crap. So I want people to see what I do and want to follow in the footsteps and do the same thing. So yeah, I'm always I definitely hope I inspire people and hope to do that my whole career.
You mentioned working in the bakery a couple times in this interview. Is this where the crispy nickname has come from?
Pretty much, not quite the bakery, but we grew up in my family's. My grandma owned a cake shop growing up, so we grew up right next to her at the cake shop. We were homeschooled for some of our life, so we were in the cake shop all the time. And she would give us like this whipped icing before you whip it, like it was like the sweetened condensed milk, and we would just drink it. And I was like, where's my mom? She's not telling me not to eat this, but like now I got a sugar addiction as an adult. Shout out to my granny. But yeah, that's kind of where it came from, is Krispy Kreme. I love donuts. I have like a very strong sweet tooth, but also it's like a pun to it, because I want my fighting style to be crisp and smooth. So it's a two-way street there, but that's where all the donuts come from. I got a little donut tattoo on my wrist, and one day I'm gonna get crispy somewhere on me, but I gotta make sure I'm staying crispy in the ring before I do that.
Absolutely. Well, Carli, last question for you. In a perfect world, what is the outcome February 21st when you make your return to the UFC against Juliana Miller?
Perfect outcome is me to go out there confident, trusting my abilities, and get a finish in the first round, and just go out there and have fun like I did. I want to perform like I did in New Orleans, because I just felt so at home and I felt so comfortable in the cage, and I was able to find a finish. So hopefully I get a first round, but also not going to rush it, because that's how you get clipped if you try to rush something crazy. So I'm going to just try to find it, man. I'm going to just have fun and try to find an opening and capitalize on it. So let's go first round, though. That's ideal.
Absolutely. Well, Carli, thank you so much for taking time out of your night to talk to me. Can't wait for this fight. It's going to be a good one.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. That's it for us tonight. I'm Carl Peruzza. She is crispy. She is Miss Carli Judice. You can watch her taking on Juliana Miller February 21st, Houston. Thank you.